Are you a literature nut? If you're like me, you've spent years and years collecting all forms of books. Educational, entertainment, reference. Eventually, you'll run into the same problem I did. How do you organize and store all these books? I'll take a few minutes to show you how I did it in the hopes that maybe it'll help you. Let's start out with your paperbacks. Since they're small, this will probably be the greatest quantity of books in your collection. So you'll need lots of room to store them. This is where my movable shelf system comes into play. All of the shelves mounted against the back wall are stationary. Then I have 2 shelves in the front that you can move back and forth to gain access to the back books. The sliding shelves actually increase my storage capacity by about 900 books. In this video, I'll give you a brief overview of the library. As I make the detailed videos, I'll go ahead and post links. The sliding shelves have wheels mounted on the bottom of them. These wheels travel along tracks in the wood base. Mounted on the back of each sliding bookshelf is a big metal rod. The metal rod goes through the support structure on the bookshelf and prevents the shelf from tipping over. Here's an easy way to find your books when you need them. Easy to read markers that have a biscuit attached to them. The biscuit slides into a slot on the shelf and clearly indicate what books belong on that shelf. As you can see, it's very easy to use, and you can move it around as your book collection grows or shrinks. Here's how I use them. I place a marker at the top of each column. This will indicate the genre of the book in that column, such as sci-fi. Then each shelf will have a marker with the letters A through Z, indicating the author. Additionally, markers are good for indicating a series of books, such as this. Storage gets a little more difficult when you get to your technical manuals, just because there seems to be no standard size. So just pick the largest book you have and make all your shelves that size. Probably the worst offender for using up too much room is DVDs. Each one comes in this fancy little case. Take the DVD out and look at how much room you can save. Once you've gotten rid of the cases, then you can build nice wood boxes to store the DVDs in. You'll want to make the shelves for the boxes the same size as your technical manuals. That way they'll fit very nicely right above your manuals. So, do you have an old collection of comic books? You can start out by putting each comic in its own protective sleeve, then build some decorative storage boxes. This will greatly simplify your organization. Then, of course, the boxes will need their own shelves. It actually works out pretty good if you make the shelves the same size as your technical manuals. It'll give your library a nice flush look. Along the same lines as comic books, you have graphic novels. These books are convenient for filling in odd-shaped areas in your library. If you want to become more aggressive in finding places to store books, look within your walls. The space on either side of this closet is completely wasted. Since they're non-load-bearing walls, you can replace them with bookshelves. Just take your trusty Sawzall, cut that wall out of there, head to your wood shop, and make a bookshelf that was exactly the same width as the wall you just removed. Now you can store 300 more books, and you haven't lost any floor space in your library. And it's easy to hide the exposed wood from your new bookshelf. Just rough it up with a sander, throw some mud on there and sand it down, spray your texture on, and repaint. When you're all done, you can't even tell it's no longer original factory equipment. But wait, we're not done ripping out walls. Move on into the inside of your closet. Remove the drywall from the closet side and the studs. Then you can build a bookshelf that will fit within the wall of the closet. Since accessibility is a little more difficult, I store books I don't get to very often in here. Let's see, where else can we put books? Oh yeah, above the closets, doors, and windows. To make this work, you kind of have to think outside of the box. You're combining a normal bookshelf with a suspension bridge. Along the wall side, the bookshelf will rest on a little furring strip, while on the room side, you want to suspend the bookshelf from the ceiling. I like copper wire. It looks good and it's easy to work with. Run it through the shelf, then hook the other end up to drywall anchors mounted in the ceiling. Since the books are mounted so high, they're a little more difficult to get to. So my solution? Create little easy to pull down boxes. In addition to being easier to access, the boxes serve another purpose. You can use them to store all the books in an entire series all together. Because odds are, if you read one book in a series, you want to read all the other books at the same time. And while you're at it, go ahead and mark what order the book is in the series. At first, building something like this might seem like quite the daunting task. The solution? Build it in sections. This serves several purposes. The first is you can actually get it in and out of the door. As you build and install each section, you can start using it right away. You don't have to wait for the completed project. And if you move, you can take your library with you. This is how I built my library. The paperbacks are 5 separate identical sections. The back 3 are stationary, while the front 2 are movable. Build the boxes to store your comic books. Then you can build the shelves for those boxes. Next, the technical manuals. Shelf spacing is the same as the comic book boxes and consists of 2 separate sections. While we're building extra wide shelves, you want to build your DVD shelf, as well as your DVD boxes. I put the next section there as a matter of convenience. I had to build a proof of concept prototype for my sliding bookshelves, to make sure it would work. So instead of throwing away, I incorporated it into the rest of the library. Now the bookshelf that goes here has to be narrow, so it's going to be paperbacks. The reason why it has to be narrow is that it butts up to your sliding bookshelf. This way you don't block access to any of your books. I'd like to point out an important safety consideration. You need to attach the bookshelf to the wall. This is easily accomplished with brackets. Use a router to make a dado cut so the bracket sits flush. This way the bracket will not interfere with other bookshelves. I'd like to talk about 2 more critical but necessary steps. Before embarking on a project of this size, you really have to do some planning. I drew up the plans for my library using free software that's already in your computer. That's Microsoft Paint. Paint allows you to draw scaled images 1 pixel at a time. It's time consuming, but it works. You can create rulers and scaled images of your walls, add furniture that'll be in the room, then build several different types of bookshelves. Using copy-paste, move the bookshelves into the room to see what your best fit will be. After you're done, hit the print button, and you have detailed plans to work off of. And the other thing you might have to do before building bookshelves is some room remodeling. Things like removing wall heaters and thermostats, repositioning light switches, and maybe even moving some electrical outlets around. Now that you've stored thousands of books in your library, we need a way of cataloging them. I found this is easily done with computers. I created a menu-driven database using Microsoft Access. A click of the mouse allows you to enter new books into your library. Or you can search for a book using several different options. Here we see books related to robots. Or if you're headed out to the bookstore and need to buy new books, a click of the button exports your entire database to your portable electronic device. So while you're standing in the store, you know if you already have that book. And finally, if you're a compulsive organizer like me, you can scan the front and back cover of every single book into the computer. When you're looking for a book, type in the name of the author you're interested in. Now, not only can you see the front cover of the books, but you can also read the description of the book off the back cover, which is a much better description than anything I could ever type. Well, that's about it for this video. I want to thank you for watching.